FYI, no leaf blowers were run indoors during the recording of this podcast. We promise.
Hey, welcome back to Dad Space. It's Dave with you. I hope you're doing well. We're in December, right? Getting close to that, magical time when a guy in red and white steals all your food, leaves you a few gifts that you have to pay for, and happy holidays. Yeah. Glad to be with you. It's Dave. It's Dad Space. We can talk about technology and parenting, a digital dad's dilemma. I'm glad you're here. Let's embrace the technology of podcasting, shall we? All right, here we go. So welcome back to Dad Space. I am so thrilled you're here. My cat is laying beside me next to the fireplace and loving life right now. So that's an update for you on my cat. I hope you enjoy that. I am here to talk about technology and parenting and all of the fun things that we as parents, and now for me, grandparent, things that we have to deal with that maybe we didn't have to deal with when we were younger. I know. You might not be as old as I am, but I can remember a time when, things were a little bit easier, a little bit different because we didn't have these portable computers in our pockets. We had calculators. That was fun. But we didn't have a way to do all the things we have ability to do now back when I was young. Now, you're like, how old are you, Dave? I was born technically in the 60s. Yeah, that was a time, 1960s. But I was only around in the 60s for about, 5-6 weeks. And then it was the 70s. So technically I grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and all that fun stuff. But technically, 1969, November of 1969. So I just snuck in. And so I technically am, and really, you might be older than me, but I am an old fart. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. But back when I was growing up, we didn't have what our kids and grandchildren have today by any means. And we didn't have the pressure to live a virtual life and a physical life at the same time. There was none of this. So I think for us as parents, we need to have a very good idea of how we want to parent our children in that digital age with all of the things that they have available to them and social media, the internet, videos, YouTube, TikTok, all of these things are just eating away at our time. And I think we're in a digital dilemma as dads. And I wanted to talk about this here on the show. So if you've ever kind of wrestled with your technology guidelines for your children, then this might be a great episode for you. And I hope you stick around. I think that this is going to be pretty timely for us. I think the one thing that I'm curious about from your perspective, and I'd love to hear from you at dadspace.ca. There's a speak pipe message. You can leave me a voice message. I love hearing voice messages from people like you. The whole idea about when to give phones to your kids, like when can they have access to their own phone and, without you staring over their shoulder at what they're looking at, when, what age, and this is debatable, and a lot of interesting comments on this, how to handle the unpoliced corners of the internet, you know what I mean, and how to teach kids to be smart, discerning, and thoughtful users of technology and digital tools. That's kind of what I want to focus on today. Kids' access to devices is almost universal at this point, 2025 going into 2026. But I think as parents, we need to kind of set up some sort of boundaries and guidance. And when we were growing up, this wasn't as big of a deal, right? We didn't have access to what we have access to now. So we grew up in a world where this wasn't required. And maybe we're not valuing it or giving it enough attention right now because it's new to us as much as it's new to our kids. There's some practical strategies that I want to focus in on what could be a better foundation for you and your kids when it comes to technology. So first of all, when to give your kids access to a phone? I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, what you're doing in your home. But when do you give your kids access to their very own phone? So I'm going to show my age, but back when I was growing up, a phone was attached to a wall in your house. You didn't take it outside to play. You didn't take it with you to the store or the mall. Phones were attached to walls, and they had a cord. And then they went cordless. Ooh, right? And then, you could walk around the house. Maybe outside for a few feet, and then it would die. So our kids today, phones aren't even attached to walls anymore, right? It's not even a thing. To hear somebody with a landline, which is, again, a phone attached to a wall in your house, pretty rare. People are basically running around with their cell phones and their mobiles, right? So I'm thinking that age ranges for this decision about when to give your kids a phone are evolving. And parents are debating this within social groups because they're trying to come up with the best solution for their family. Some common milestones, I think, could include a basic phone for emergency contact around early adolescence, right? So your kids are young teens. And then maybe a smartphone with supervised access. Your kids are going to probably need a phone, as they go through high school, especially the further grades in high school, as the older they get, for probably a lot of their activities and even homework and even in class. Some places have them in class. So you're probably going to eventually have to allow that to happen in your home, and your kids, you're not going to be able to see what they're seeing at school. So that's the next step. I think the big thing here is to have stages of access to phones, to give your grade 9 student a phone unsupervised right away might not be the best thing, because it has capabilities that they will discover on their own that you may not even know how to do, and they'll have access to the world. Now, that's up to you as a parent and your decisions and how you want to parent, but I think kind of a scaled approach is a better approach for our kids as they grow. So I like the idea when your kids are smaller or younger to have a family device or a shared plan that allows you access to see what they're looking at and who they're interacting with. I'll give you an example. My daughter, when she was in, grade 10 or 11, she tried selling one of her toys or something online, made arrangements for somebody to come to our house to purchase it. And my wife and I weren't even home. Right, exactly. That's what I said. I'm like, no, you're not bringing strangers to the house when we're not here. Completely didn't even think about the interaction that would happen when a person shows up at your front door. Mom and dad aren't here, and what are you selling? And you're now you're what? So that's an example of the kids just not understanding how life works. And so that would be a good example for you to consider, is that your kids have a great communication with you when they go to use this phone and make connections with people that are outside of the family circle and friends, because they have access to the world and they might want to sell their toys and make some money on the side. So keep that in mind. That was a great example for us where we had to sit down and go, this is how the world works, and this is what we're not going to do going forward. Selling things to strangers online and having them come to our house, probably not a great idea. The unpoliced corners of the internet are also another thing where we really have zero control when a phone or a device is given to our kids. There is a broad risk out there around misinformation, explicit content, cyberbullying, scams, data tracking, I remember watching a TikTok video, and there was the mother, the father, and like a young girl, under 10, walking through like a mall or a public place. And all these random adults were walking up, acknowledging the daughter, ignoring the parents, and saying things about the daughter that were very personal, like, that was a great soccer game on Friday. And the parents are looking at the daughter like, who is that? Like, was that your teacher? Like, who was that? And then another person would come up and say something else, and someone, oh, I liked your photo about the thing. And the parents are just confused. Like, why are all these people talking to you? It's because our kids are now online, and anybody can see what they're posting. There's a lot of unpoliced corners of the internet. And I'm curious for you, when we were growing up, our kids were growing up, we posted photos of our kids all the time. Soccer practice, this and that, music practice, new toys, Christmas, all these things. Our family was the ones that we were interacting with the most. But at the same time, a photo posted to the internet is, it's posted to the internet. You can't get it back. So anybody can make a copy of anything, and you no longer have control over that. So I know my youngest son, with his kids, when his kids are little, they only posted photos with a little cartoon face over top of their face in the image. And it was always weird to me. I'm like, why are we doing this? But as I see more and more of these unpoliced corners of the internet, it just makes me wonder how much we're giving out and what we can't get back, right? So that's just something to think about. And, as we kind of use our devices, we, even as adults, as parents, need to understand that we need to use it right as well. So keep that in mind. Some guardrails that we can have as dads for our kids. We need to talk about what privacy is. The kids need to understand what a strong password is. Our kids need to understand what some boundaries are around screen time. When is a good time to use your phone? When it's not a good time to use your phone, like using your phone before you go to bed and all that light on your face when you're supposed to be trying to calm down and go to sleep, right? We just need to filter what our values are with our kids so that they can follow our example. And that's a good point. We as adults also need to live by the same rules that we give our kids. So if you don't want your kids to look at that thing, then why are you looking at that thing? Do you see where I'm going with this? That whole thing of do as I say, not as I do, not a great parenting tip at all. We need to set an example and show them how to use these phones in a positive way and these connections in a positive way. When people request information from our kids, do they know how to handle that? What about suspicious links that come to us from people? DMs. Do our kids have any idea how this internet works? I think one thing we can do with our kids is teach them from the beginning that we have a trust-first approach. So when they have a question about something, even if they think they might have done something wrong, that there's an option for them to come to us without any recourse, that they can get the answer they need to make the right choice in the moment. So even if they've made a mistake, they know that we're not going to come down on them because they come to us first. So keep that in mind. Have a trust-first approach to any questions around technology, even if your kids make a mistake. Like my daughter selling a product online to a stranger who's coming to the house to pick it up, and there's no parents here. So have a trust-first approach. And those moments come up when they go on the wrong path. We also need to teach smart use and consumer literacy around technology for our kids. Our kids need to be very diligent and critical about where their sources of information comes from. And to verify sources, they need to learn now the process of how to vet a source. They need to know how to cross-check information and question how things are given to them and what shows up in their algorithms because of their search history. They need to understand what data privacy is And as well, the other thing is how kids use the apps and purchases through their phone, and understanding that money is money, even though it's on the internet and you're not physically handing it over to somebody. They need to understand how in-app purchases work, and subscriptions and ads and impulse buying and Amazon and all of these things. We need them to understand how technology works, how finances work on the internet, and help them to avoid falling into some deep pits when they don't understand what they're clicking on and they're just randomly clicking on things, trying to figure out the world. We need to be there with them and show them how to use their phone in a safe way so they don't get into trouble. We also need to focus on some tools and routines that work. They're the one family that has a family tech contract with clear expectations and buy-in from both the kids and the parents. There's accountable use policies around their phone, a shared login for supervision, and a plan to gradually increase autonomy for the kids over time as they meet certain objectives and stick with the contract written up for them. Kids need to realize that a phone is not mandatory. It's not a rite of passage. Phones are part of the family unit, and they're not paying for it for the most part. Once your kids have a job and all that, I understand that changes the picture a little bit, but when your kids don't have a job and they can't get a phone on their own, it falls under the family tech contract, and I like that idea. This is an agreement between us as parents and you as the kid. And here are the parameters of how this works. If you break the parameters, you lose your privilege. It's simple. That's how the world works for everything. Stop paying for your car, they come and take it. That's how it works. So it's a good lesson for your kids to understand right from the beginning. I think here's some things I'd like to call the dad toolkit as a quick reference for you around technology, phones, internet, all of that for you and your kids. Here's your little toolkit. I love the idea of a phased plan aligned with the maturity of your kids over time. Not all out right from the beginning, no benchmarks, just here you go, have at it, and we won't even check on you. A phased device plan works really well. I like that idea. Establishing safety basics, privacy settings, screen time limits, and content filters. That's a great starting point as well as your kids are younger, graduating into their own space. Practice digital literacy, fact-checking, recognizing persuasive content, and understanding data traces, how your phone keeps track of you. Foster two-way communication. Kids can report issues to you without punishment as they're learning how to navigate a digital space. Parents respond calmly with guidance and encourage more interactions with their kids so kids can learn the right way. They're not feeling threatened, or if they make a mistake, they might try to hide it. So make sure they can come and talk to you. And foster that two-way communication where kids report these issues and get that guidance. Model good behavior, demonstrate healthy device habits, and balance real-world activities. Your phone is great when it's on. Your phone is also great when it's off. And they need to understand the difference between the two. Some prompts that you can use for your kids when talking about technology, phones, internet, all of that. Here's some things to think about. When you're talking to your kids about boundaries and setting boundaries, start with something like this. We'll start with a shared family device for a few months before giving you a personal phone, and we'll review the rules together at each step along the way. So the kids know they're not going to be on a shared family plan device for all the time, but here's where we start. And here's your side of it is you're going to stick with us and do everything the right way. It's on-the-job training with a device. Online safety conversations. You could have a conversation that starts with, if something online makes you uncomfortable and you're unsure about it, tell us as the parents or a trusted adult right away. We'll figure it out together, no punishment necessary for asking, right? It's a safe place to bring up questions about what is this and is this right or is this wrong? Around media literacy, something you can use as a prompt. What evidence supports this claim that you're saying that this, and this are true? Who benefits from you believing what you're saying right now? And what data sources does this content rely on? So a good example would be YouTube telling you that video is super important. Well, obviously, YouTube's going to tell you that because YouTube wants videos. That makes sense. So they're slanted and leaning towards the fact that videos are important. So your kids walk away going, I got to make videos. Well, where did you get that from? Well, I got it from the internet. Where? YouTube. YouTube told you the videos are important. Yeah, because YouTube lives and breathes on video content. Makes sense. So you're getting only one side of it. So just keep that in mind. And then lastly, the other thing too would be around subscription awareness. So a prompt for your kids, say to them, always ask before you make any in-app purchases. Let's review the price, the value, and whether it's a recurring charge. My youngest son was super into Minecraft and a bunch of other stuff when he was younger, and he would blow through so much money on in-app purchases. And today, I don't even know if he plays the game anymore, but he threw so much money into this. And we're like, how are you even paying for this? Where are you? You don't even have a job, and you're paying what? So be very careful with your kids about what they're buying behind your back, and make sure there's an accountability there, because they can get into a lot of trouble by spending money they don't have on things they don't need, but they feel like they need it. So keep that in mind as well. The beautiful thing about living in 2025, 2026 is the power of AI, is the fact that we can talk to anyone, anywhere. Even the archaic Zoom platform allows us to do video chat around the world. I use it for my podcast all the time. We are more connected than ever. At the same time, we're the most disconnected we are from human interaction. And I think we as parents need to have a balanced approach to how digital services and digital tools can be an amazing balance to our in-person contacts and spending time with each other. One of my past jobs was I was a limo driver, and I would drive for grads, high school grads, which were so much fun as an adult, driving around a bunch of screaming teenagers. Anyways, they would be in the back of the car texting each other, chatting with each other on their phones, and they're sitting elbow to elbow. They wouldn't put their phone down and talk to each other. They would send each other messages. I'm like, you guys are like right beside each other. You could just talk to each other, but no. So we are so connected, yet so disconnected. And I think one of the things we can teach our kids is how to talk to people in real life, how to interact with people in real life. And I don't think a phone should ever be the answer to human interaction. It helps to connect with people. It helps to be part of a bigger picture. But at the same time, there's something special about having a person in your life. And all you have to do is go on TikTok and watch videos of long lost friends reuniting in a surprise way, to see the reaction of people who just love their friends, their family, their brothers or sisters in those moments, the soldiers that come back from service, right? Those kind of videos. That's a piece of who we are as a human that our kids need to understand. The importance of human connection, not on a screen, not on a laptop, not on a computer, not on a phone, but in real life. So if we can balance that out for our kids so that they have that experience and that makes them a well-rounded person, I think we're doing parenting really well if we can do that. So there's my challenge for you this week. If you haven't come up with something for your kids, it's gift giving season. You might be giving out a phone at the end of 2025 as a gift. Make sure you also give them the gift of knowledge and understanding how this phone can be a great resource, can also be a great anchor. So make sure that you have the conversation and come up with a way for you and your kids to communicate around this amazingly powerful device that can bring people together and tear people down at the same time. As parents, that's our responsibility. And remember, your kids will be modeling your behavior. So if you live on your phone, you are creating the foundation for your kids to emulate you and also live on their phones. So be healthy with your own phones. Be healthy with your own digital footprint so that your kids can copy you. Be a great example. Show them how you live and how them copy you. Thanks for being here on Dad Space. And if you ever want to find out more about Dad Space, go to dadspace.ca. You can always find us there. And make sure you follow the show. So there's probably a little button wherever you're listening right now at the top of the screen that says follow or subscribe. It's completely free. We don't charge you anything to follow the show. But every time there's a new episode, it'll just show up on your phone. And that's one way you and I can be connected. The better way is for you and I to have time together. We'd love to have time with you over at dadspace.ca. Take care.